All right, everyone, welcome to My Greatest Hits. Truck Stop Mixtape Productions presents My Greatest Hits podcast here where we invite guests and talk to them about their 10 favorite songs or songs that inspired them, moved them, changed them, made them who they are in their lives, and presented kind of like a mixtape kind of thing. And we talk about the songs. My guest today is an amazing songwriter himself. He's a lead singer and composer for the band Truckerbomb, sort of Americana punk band that's been around for a few years in the Los Angeles area and has been getting a lot of accolades and cool things happen. And first off, why don't we just say hello? How you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Thank you for being here, for real. We've known each other for a few years now, and we've had interviews in the past, and I've always wanted to get to know you a little differently because we've talked mainly about Truckerbomb and songwriting process and stuff like that. But to have the chance to talk to you specifically, since you're such a good songwriter, especially too, about the songs that kind of that have messed you up along the way is really cool. And tell me first what's going on with you right now in general.
Working on new songs as always. Got a new lineup with the band. One very new person, a sort of new person, and then Alric, the drummer, has been with me for a couple years. So yeah, getting it together. Gonna get in the studio and do some of the new songs. And at the same time, on a very ridiculously slow timeline, unfortunately for me, I'm working on some solo songs too, and also I hope to get a compilation album of all the songs I've co-written with other people together.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we need to write a song together.
Yeah.
Just putting it out there. Let's begin with the list. Let's start.
All right.
Let's start. I like to think of these as a kind of a cassette where it's just like a side A and side B, 5 songs per each side.
Mm-hmm.
I usually say that's, the order is really up to you because it's kind of like how you would make the tape. But let's start with your number one.
My number one, which when you said top 10 songs of all time that mean something to you, whatever, there was only one that could be number one for me, and that's Another Lonely Christmas by Prince. For many, many reasons. And so first, I could take up a whole podcast talking about Minnesota, but I can't, nothing lives in a vacuum. So I have to say, growing up in Minnesota, especially when I did, was before the Coen brothers, before Fargo, before anyone knew that there was a culture there that was very different than the rest of the Midwest. And also being from there, you didn't know that you were different from the rest of the Midwest. You didn't know you had an accent until you moved to Boston and people are mean to you and say, dude.
You mean people are normal to you?
Well, Yes. They're not Minnesota nice there. They're like, dude, what are you, from Canada or something? What are you gonna, oh, you're gonna go get a pop, are ya? So Minnesota's like, it's like this island of a mix of like Scandinavians and like a little of everything, and education is big and the arts are big. It's not like any place else. But if you're from there, you don't think you're ever gonna go anyplace else. Because like the idea of moving to Los Angeles or moving to New York or something to a kid in Minnesota is like, I might as well think about moving to Mars or something like that. It just doesn't happen. And Minnesota had like the Andrews Sisters. Bob Dylan doesn't count because he's from there, but he went to New York and got signed. His whole career is New York and on. We had Funky Town by Lip Sync. That was the big hit out of Minneapolis. until Prince. And Prince was so Minnesotan. If I just like, rock and funk and a band that was mixed with races and men and women and whatever, and that it just feels like Minnesota to me. And you don't know how special it is until you leave. And then the other thing is that, like, Prince stayed in Minnesota. He didn't get famous and leave.
Yeah, whatever happened, he always went back.
And even, like, I mean, Purple, like, his name's Prince and you think royalty, but also you don't realize the Lakers from Minnesota are purple because of the University of Minnesota. That's where they started. Yeah. And the Vikings are purple, and the state patrol cars are purple. They're kind of maroon, but whatever. But Minnesota's just purple.
Yeah.
And anyway,
it's from being so cold.
Prince
you turn purple.
The cold keeps the bad people out.
The cold keeps the bad people out. Yes.
So, getting on track, I moved from Minnesota to Boston to go to Berklee College of Music. And at this time, if there's any kids watching, there was a time when you had to pay money for music.
Yeah.
And I don't know about...
I remember.
I remember, like, I'd say if a kid could buy an album a month, that was kind of a rich kid.
Yeah.
I remember, like, birthday and Christmas was like, you'd get an album or something like that. It was not an everyday occurrence. It wasn't an even...
My allowance allowed for a single or two.
Yeah. And so I moved to Boston, and I was, like, paying for college all myself and got myself from Minnesota to Boston, and I was really on my own in a lot of ways. And I had, I think, with no job, I moved to Boston with $800 to last me the whole year, and that included flights back to Minnesota for Christmas. And then that. So I already owned all the Prince albums and stuff like that. And my roommate in college had a record player. And so, not wanting to buy the full albums again, I went to Newbury Comics, and I started buying extended singles.
Yeah, 12 inches.
Yep. So if I wanted to hear Prince, I'd go buy an extended single. So I started building up this collection to not buy the whole albums that I already owned, because, that's the way money works. And so I got the single I Would Die For You, and on the back side of that was Another Lonely Christmas, which, until the hits and the B-sides came out, virtually no one heard that song.
No.
So it was almost like if you had a favorite artist and they sent you a demo of this song and, like, no one else in the world heard it. Like, you'd run into some people, like, maybe, I mean, it has to be like the top of Prince fans that would know Another Lonely Christmas.
We knew.
And so what I loved about it was, other than that was just this one time in my life, and it was a story song, and there are not too many songs where one of the characters in it gets pneumonia because they fell through the ice. And that's a very Minnesota thing. Like, every year you lost someone to the ice. Like, Boston, there was, like, kids went swimming in the quarry, and every year there was someone that drowned in the quarry, and, like, why did you go swimming in the quarry? Someone's gonna die. That's just what happens. And there's a time in Minnesota where the ice gets thin, and then it's always like, why did someone go out? And it's not like like an ice report or anything like that. You gotta like, how warm is it? Has it been warm for a while and whatever? So, it's this story song. There's ice. It seems so Minnesotan. It felt like home when I listened to that. And I was in Boston, and yeah, it just had all these elements of there's a surprise, and it was just my own.
Took you back home. Took you back home.
And it's a great song, and no one else knew it. It was like my secret thing for the longest time. And then the hits and B-sides came out, and I was like, why didn't this just like start getting airplay? Why isn't it everyone's favorite song?
I remember hearing it for the first time. I didn't get to hear it till a few years later, maybe like 86 or 87, because that's when I came back to the States and I was able to procure those 12 inches and the remixes. But I remember a couple things hit me hard about it. One, I remember feeling like the first song of his, that there was like a tragedy involved, like, sort of like it's like it's not common for him to have like a story about someone who died or whatever, right? And he's got a few, but not,
they came later, I think.
And then also the drink. What's the drink that he mentions in
Banana
it?
daiquiri.
Banana daiquiris. I remember going out and trying to find like somebody to make me a banana daiquiri because I wanted to know what it was like. But yeah, no, and it's just like you said, it's an amazing song. He was just on a string too, where the B-sides were just so like, they were gems, and very few people knew about him.
Yeah,
and he's your guy. He's Minnesota.
Yeah, and it's just like it's crazy to just think like, I don't know if I would have went to music school if it wasn't for Prince. I don't know
That's
if
crazy.
I would have thought of, I could do this if it wasn't for Prince. Like, anyone around Minnesota is like, you take lessons and then you play in a bowling alley, and you do covers or whatever. That was kind of the extent of everything. And like, yeah, you'd think someone does this thing, they're professional musicians and they do record and whatever, but is not something that was like right in front of you that easily accessible. Like, if you lived in LA or New York, like, people go and do that.
It's I always come back to this because people always like, in these days it's a common phrase, but I feel like it pertains to all the things that people kind of relate to, and it's just that you need to see representation. You need to see something that you connect to in a higher place, in an upgraded place, in a level higher than yours, so you can see what's possible for you. And that's like somebody like Prince, who was just kind of like, let the freak flag fly, and you're like 13 and you're all these crazy things in your head, and you're like, here's this guy who's amazing and talented and can wear whatever he wants to wear and gets all the girls or whatever. It's like it's just like, oh wait, he's you can be whatever you want to be. Great first start, man. Great number one. So side A, song number 2.
Nice Guys Don't Get Paid by Soul Asylum. We're still in Minnesota.
Staying in the region.
Yeah.
Staying in the region.
So this album, I'd call this like the second wave of Minneapolis, that I guess it was going on when I was there, but those bands weren't like readily available. They seemed to play up north and down south. They played colleges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As far as like the club scene, it was like, if you remember, there's kind of a one-hit wonder called the Jets. They played my prom. They were a cover band. And as far as I remember, when I was younger, The Time was a cover band. They played a lot, but I think they were a cover band as far as I knew, from the places they played. So after I moved, I started listening to a lot of stuff out of Minneapolis that was very different than Prince, but Soul Asylum, The Replacements, Husker Du all came out a little while after that. I don't know, maybe it was like the Prince effect. They were like, oh, we can do this too, just like I did. So the Soul Asylum album, one of my favorite albums of all time. It's Soul Asylum and The Horse That They Rode In On. And this is pre-Nirvana of the quiet, loud kind
I
of
was gonna mention that
songwriting. And it just wasn't done. And like before the new wave of alternative rock or whatever it would be, there was pop, there was metal, there was punk, and no one really mixed all of those together to be punk and rock and, you know, everything. And like even that album, there's like country in there, there's a little of everything. And especially like punk or whatever, I wouldn't say that there's no songwriting involved, but there's not like Chris Christopherson kind of, here's a story, here's a character, here's this thing we're building up. Soul Asylum did that. That was this amazing story of kids and drugs in a city, and I'm not really sure exactly what happened with Nice Guys Don't Get Paid, but it resonated with me, especially being in the music scene and being a nice guy not getting paid like every week.
I love that album. That's a great album, and I feel like it was a turning point for those guys as well. It's funny because Soul Asylum gets thrown into this pile of sort of the early 90s alternative wave of bands that were kind of getting popular, and they had been around for many years, like you know, 5-6 albums before they really crossed over. And I think of this album, I always kind of have to reference when I came back to the United States. I instantly started working in record stores, and I remember very much Twin Tone. I remember I remember Husker Du because of SST and all the stuff that was like that sort of Midwest rock that was happening. And I also remember there being like a clear cut thing of there were bands that were kind of, you mentioned the mix of things, and I divided them into two different groups. There were bands that were doing the mix within a song, say like the Pixies, you know, that were just kind of like undefinable what they were doing, but you could clearly hear all the different things. And then there was a band like Soul Asylum, where on one album, they'd have like different kinds of, you know, it was kind of almost every genre would be represented in a thing, but also in a way that they were kind of more old school. They felt more like an old, like almost kind of like the Replacements, the more rock and roll kind of like approach of, let me try this style, but it's going to be all crazy, dirty, and punky, and the energy is going to be kind of crazy. And I also remember too that there was a song on that album. I want to say it's like Something to Hold On To or something like that. That was just like basically the sound that the Chili Peppers did a year or two later on Blood, Sex, Sugar Magic, where the Chili Peppers had this sort of like, they were just like this punky funky thing that they were doing for a while, and then on one album when they got John Frusciante, they became a more of, it was almost slightly like metal-y, like, you know, but that song, there's a song on that album that's like, I swear to God, they heard that and they got that sound, which is a sort of like heavy groove but tight, almost like James Brown kind of like syncopation, but it's fucking loud as hell. You know, it's like really kind of like, you know, I wish I remember the title of the song, but it's that album. I think it's their best album personally, for me. But and I do know another weird fact that the producer on that album was the one who produced their last album that came out a couple years ago. Steve Jordan.
Oh, what?
Stupid information. Silly information to have in my head. Well, and Bob Mould did produce their first few records. But tangent. I wanted to ask you about the song really quick because the song itself, like you said, it's kind of like it's got a message that I'm gonna say that you probably didn't follow, which is the about what's the line in the song that goes something going straight. Nice guys never whatever.
Nice guys don't get paid.
Yeah. I don't know. Just it's the message of the song is kind of one where you're like you can't be nice. You can't be suckered. You can't let yourself be taken as a fool. But at the same time, it's almost like they're asking you to be a drug dealer or something. I don't know. Like they're saying, like, get into selling drugs. It's whatever. My bad. Let's move to song number 3 before I lose it.
All right.
Tell me what's your song number 3 on side A is.
Good Times Roll by the Cars.
Nice pick.
That one is if there was a definable life-changing moment, it was at that time. That was another one of those. I got that as a birthday present, and it was. I think it was like
The first record?
No. It was definitely under 10, maybe under 5 for my first records. But it was, I believe, from the guy my mom was dating at the time, who had a couple of boys. The older boy said, "This is cool." And I dropped the needle on the Cars' first album, and Let the Good Times Roll starts, and it was like nothing I ever heard before. And later, I actually got to record in Synchro Sound, where the Cars, that was their studio in Boston.
Oh, nice.
And it was, when I first heard that, I thought, there's no way the Cars are from the United States. They have to be from England or another planet. There was
Rick Ocasek is definitely from
absolutely nothing like that. And I wonder, when I look at my own songwriting, which maybe it lands, maybe it doesn't, but there's a lot of sarcasm in my lyrics. And Rick Ocasek was always like, there is never a song that's just a song. There's some kind of twist. There's some kind of dark element. And there's always something coming out of left field. Like, you never know where it's headed. And, Let the Good Times Roll should be an up-tempo pop song or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's, it's dark and, it's synthy and just the drums and everything going on. There was just nothing like it. There was like, the world changed.
Yeah.
And of course, then, Elliot Easton with like the most new wavy of songs or whatever, throwing country licks in the middle of a solo, and you don't, it's like a million years later when I listen after I knew more about country, like, he just did country solos in the middle of, this new wave song. And it was brilliant. And
I love that song. It's a song that I always enjoy covering occasionally when there's an opportunity to do so. And it's one of the best first songs on a first album from a band ever. Mm-hmm. I love that. And it's got some really funny lines in it too. What's it? If they got thunder appeal.
Yeah.
I love that line, man. It's just like, and let them brush your rock and roll hair. Let them brush your rock and roll hair. Let the good time. Also, feel like the chorus. I always felt that the chorus always felt like an ending of a song because of the dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and it's like every time they do it, and it's like it's such a crazy motif to repeat in a song. And like you said, like about him lyrically, I don't know for sure, but it just sounds like he's kind of making fun of people who are letting the good times roll.
It seems like that, yeah.
Moving on to number 4 on side A of Troy Richardson's My Greatest Hits, we go to
Unsatisfied by The Replacements. So we're back in Minnesota again.
Yes, we're back in Minnesota. Back in 1984, too.
Yeah. And so this song, I didn't hear it in 1984. I was probably well within the Berklee songwriting program by the time I heard that. I had to like go back and revisit a lot of Minneapolis bands that I didn't hear when they first came out. And Unsatisfied, first, I just love the song, and I don't know why. There is almost nothing to that song. The lyrics are almost the same all the way through. Sometimes they're the same with like one word changed as it comes back around. And the song is super simple. The lyrics are super simple. And that song just always hit me so hard. I don't know if it's his vocal delivery or whatever. It just seemed so real, so honest, and that I couldn't figure out what is going on with it. Like, especially if you're middle of it, like Berklee, you're like, oh, that landed. Oh, well, of course, it was the 5 chord going to 1 at the end of the phrase. Yeah, you know.
That's how you give them the hook.
Yeah,
pull them into the song.
You know, and it's just like, you know, title of the song lands on beat 1 of the chorus, or it's the last part of the chorus, or you know, whatever. That is one thing is like probably you know, it's the odd phrasing, and it just works, and I don't know why. One thing is that there's a certain instability of it, you know, which is Berklee songwriting term is something could be stable or unstable, like, you know, my tattoos so I don't forget, which is stable, it lands on the 1 chord, you feel at rest. You know, if you end on a 5 chord and it doesn't resolve, that's going to feel unstable. It's going to keep propelling the song along. So everything about that was just, it's the most unstable song I think I've ever heard. And, you know, I always thought about it, and I wish I had like more of, there's a Berklee time you could bring a song in to her songwriting class and like, I love this and I don't know why, and then the teacher would say, well,
break it down,
this and that, you know. So yeah, that's a song that's always been a mystery to me, and I just love it.
I think you hit it on the nose about is just the vocal delivery. There's a certain energy there. The thing, how they recorded that song, you know, how he just went in and all he had was the, you know, the satisfied line, and just kept repeating and improvising. It's a 1 take. Bob Stinson did the soloing halfway through the song. Like, as they were doing the take, he just decided to pick up the guitar and start noodling and went on. And he said, if only we had spent 5 more minutes on that song, it would have been great. And Westerberg himself has dismissed it many times, saying, you know, it's just like, it's just whatever it was, you know. But at the same time, he's also acknowledged the sort of effect of it. And I always think of that song of like one of those, I forget what they're called. It's like Rube Goldberg, maybe, like the when they do the domino and it just kind of hits all these different things and it goes all these different places.
Yeah,
I think that's like the domino that led to Nirvana.
Exactly. Yeah,
You know
a
what I
lot
mean?
of that.
I think that's the sort of like the straightforward angst that's like sort of honest but presented in a way, because he was just like, I mean, Westerberg is just so he's a classic guy, like in a crazy way. Like he was so punk rock, he was so on the edge, but he was practically kind of a crooner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His sort of vocal style and melody choices. You know, he sang very much like he was singing a show tune, like, you know, his choices. So it's just always funny to me how that dichotomy of the Replacements. I mean, I don't know. I just saw a clip of Keith Richards talking about the Replacements, and it's like it's a crazy clip that surfaced from the late '80s, and he was, in his words, happy. You know, but he was saying about how that they were one of the few bands that represent like pure rock and roll. It's like rock and roll is like knowing that one night you're not going to be great, and the other night you're going to be phenomenal in a way that you're going to capture the electricity of the room, and you're going to not even know how it's going to go beyond the talent that you have.
Yeah.
It's going to go beyond what the people on stage put together. It's just like something from somewhere else. But that it's all about that, like falling down and getting up. It's like that's what rock and roll is, and he's like, the Replacements have that. So it was cool to see that. But I always think it's funny because it's like also the year that came out. I didn't like you. I didn't discover that till the same year that I discovered Another Lonely Christmas, which was like 86, 87.
Yeah.
That I started like, ooh, Replacements. Well, it's like, you know, whatever. There was also so much lore around them too that it was hard to miss them.
The crazy thing is, I go back to Minneapolis. I play shows, and you know, I'm playing through my songs and whatever. I got off one time, and the sound guy said, "Do you like Paul Westerberg?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do, but those weren't even the songs that I ripped off of him, you know?" And he's like, no, they were good. And he said, it's like the phrasing, or it's, you know, it's this or that or whatever. But yeah, if you're playing show in Minneapolis, that's the last place you're going to get away with, like, taking something from Paul Westerberg and getting away with it.
I definitely hear that a lot in your music. I hear him a lot. But it's mainly in the same respect of how you're taking a classical form of music and you're just kind of like running it through the mud. You know what I mean? It's like this, how dirty can we get it? How like down to the ground, and like, you know, how deep can we get as far as like the lyric content and what you're trying to say. And I feel like you have a kinship with Mr. Westberg, which is a good thing. I could have said somebody else from Minneapolis and it would not have been good. But song number 5 on Troy Richardson's My Greatest Hits.
Number 5 is Irregardlessly, me.
Yay!
So this I put right after Unsatisfied because for some reason I was thinking of Unsatisfied, that it was just, you could never nail down what that song was about, but you knew the guy meant it. So it's one of my songs, like many of them, that I feel I failed at, but it wasn't what I was going for.
Yeah.
But what I got, I was pretty happy with. And so I wanted it to be like Unsatisfied, and I had this idea that the narrator of the song was going to be all about how much in love he and his partner are. But the lines were all going to be a anyone hearing them would be like, that's not love at all. Like a delusional, unreliable narrator telling about this love story. And I think I got about halfway there, I would say. But from start to finish, it wound up being a good story. There's enough of that. And everyone remembers it, probably because of at the start, before I had any other lyrics, I had the title, which is, at that time, there was a little controversy whether irregardless was actually a word, which I was working as a copywriter. At that time, it was like a kind of a decent-sized team, and there's one older guy I worked with, and it wasn't irregardless, but it was something else. And he said something like, you can't just change a meaning of a word because so many people start using it wrong. And I thought, that's exactly what happens. Enough people use a word wrong, that's what that means now.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Ironic does not have the meaning that it did. Ironic is just something odd now,
yeah.
Even though there was a very specific meaning for that. And irregardless, it's wrong. What people meant was regardless. Yeah. But, flammable, inflammable, same word. Boneless chicken, boned chicken, same thing, So regardless, irregardless, and then I added the irregardlessly just to drive the wrongness home of that. So it was like, I'm going to take a word that's not a word.
The lead part makes it a country song.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I will always remember this song about is that this is the first Truckerbomb single that was released. And it was released right at the end. We're just coming out of COVID. And one thing was like, Truckerbomb got started and it was rolling right along. And I've been in a lot of bands. Some of them had some success. Some of them had no success. What made the successful ones different than the unsuccessful ones, I have no idea. There's like, I thought I had the best band ever and it got nowhere. I was like, band I thought was kind of dumb. People liked it, whatever. So it started, and there was something about the songs I was writing at that time, people I had, that gravitated to the audience that we were playing for. People would come up to me and would remember lyrics. They were like, I like that song that you have, that, whatever. And people were coming back to see us. That's and awesome. I'm like, that never happened, really. Like, people remembering songs and things like that. And so I'll always remember that. There's like, we're rolling right along, and then COVID happens. And we're out of business for like a year.
At least.
And COVID happened when I had a fully functional band and 10 songs that we were playing for a long time, and we had booked studio time to go in and record an album. And then that got on hold. Then the band had some members fluctuate, and so
as bands do.
As they do. And so that year I was like, a lot had changed. It was like this COVID thing. I was like, I can do nothing, and then I'm going to be restarting over again, or I'm going to concentrate on whatever I really can do. And a lot changed for everyone over COVID. One was like, you could take voice lessons remotely. Like, I guess you could before, but no one did that. Mm-hmm. I could go to songwriting circles remotely, and I did that. I took, I joined some songwriting circles. My teacher at Berkeley had a seminar, and joined a circle of a bunch of students after that. And I was like, the band's not playing live, so what am I going to do? I'm going to work on my voice, and I'm going to work on my songs. Because I always kind of step away from the band and I try to look at it objectively.
Okay.
And listening to the old recordings of our live show, I'm like, the weakest link is my voice. If I could get my voice 20% better, I think the band as a whole would be 50% better. Like, the better this one element can be.
Exponentially.
And so, it's like, bands like, I think they kind of survive or fail on drums and the lead vocal.
Yeah.
Like, a bad drummer can kill the best band. And the audience doesn't even know, really. They're like, I don't know.
Off.
I don't know. I don't really like these guys. Or a great drummer would be like, there's no songs there, but people are still like, these guys are good. I'm like, no, they're not. They don't have any songs. But, And so that was coming out of COVID, recording, getting back, doing the thing. It's our first single that we released. And on my own, that was the first thing I released for, embarrassingly enough, 20 years. I recorded, played bass for other people, but for one of my songs that I sang, it was 20 years. So, yeah, that's...
This is a good mark, man. It's a good stepping stone, a good chapter.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was song number 5.
Yes.
And now we turn the tape over.
Yeah.
So that was the end of side A.
Yeah.
I love it that you put your song there in the middle. And now we begin side B with song number 6.
All right. Song number 6 is Jason Isbell, It Gets Easier.
It Gets Easier. I will say that you assembled quite a list of songwriters. It's because you know how it is. It's like, I feel like you can appreciate a good song and occasionally a song that's popular or say a songwriter maybe had many songs written and performed or soul only has like one or two familiar songs or whatever. You've kind of assembled a list of people who are just really good songwriters. So not just like they were good for that song. These are people who've had just have at least 20 to 30 other songs equally as good as the one that you picked. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to me, and I'll even throw you in the bunch. But yes, Jason Isbell. Tell me about this song.
So, first, I never listened to Jason Isbell because for some reason I got Jason Isbell and Jason Aldean mixed up.
Ooh.
And I was like, Jason Isbell, that guy's an idiot. I don't want to listen to whatever. And so I went to high school with a woman named Betsy Hodges, who wound up being mayor of Minneapolis.
Wow.
So, everything has to tie back into Minneapolis, I guess, somehow or another. And she said, do you listen to Jason Isbell? And he has a new album. And I'm like, I don't listen to that guy. And she said, I thought you'd like him. I'm like, and then I listened to this album. And this was, I think it was Reunions.
Yeah.
It just came out.
2020.
And this is his first album that he did after he got sober. And I just listened to that, and I swear Jason Isbell could have been following me around getting ideas. I was like, it was like weird. So one thing, It Gets Easier is a couple of things, which one in there, he talks about dreams where he drank, which I have those. I had those when I first quit drinking. Another, just an aside, like that single, Irregardlessly, that I didn't produce anything for 20 years. It's because I was drunk every day for 20 years, which is a really bad career move. I would not recommend that.
Choices that we make in life every day.
So, Jason Isbell has, in It Gets Easier, which it does get easier, he had dreams where he drank again and woke up and like, oh, thank God that didn't happen. The craziest thing is I was very lucky. I quit drinking and everything in my life got better, like immediately. And it gave me this very healthy fear of drinking again, that I was just so happy, and so happy to wake up each morning and not be hungover. And this Jason Isbell, all of these songs were so much like that. Like, it's if you haven't been through it's life changing. Obviously, there's my life before I quit drinking, and my life after I quit drinking, and I quit drinking. I started getting serious about fencing and writing songs and stuff like that. So it's like, basically, I picked up from when I was like 18 or 20, all of the things that I loved doing that I'd kind of not done, because I was drinking all the time. And really, unfortunately, I don't have any great drunk stories either. I never got arrested. All the things that people talk about. I don't have any
that
real
you
crazy
remember.
That I remember. Yeah. It just wasted a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot easier to drink than it is to rehearse.
It was a lifestyle.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that it gets easier. Jason Isbell talks about driving and seeing a cop behind him as he's sober. And the exact same thing happened to me. It's like, when you're drinking and driving, unfortunately, you see like a police checkpoint up ahead. You're terrified. Mm-hmm. And, I was lucky. It was like they were doing every third car or something like that. So I get up there and I got waved through. And the other thing is that I had looked up what they stop people for. And a lot of it is like not using a turn signal, or putting a turn signal on way before you should put a turn signal on. Someone hitting their windshield wipers when it's not raining, because, all of that. And so I was sober, and I like got in my car or whatever. I had parked underneath a tree, and some dirt and some stuff had fallen on my windshield. I start driving, and I look, and I hit my windshield wipers to get the crap off my car, but it wasn't raining. And I laughed, like, I would have driven with all that crap on my windshield until I got home, rather than put my windshield wipers on when it's not raining, because I know cops look for that. And just all of those things. And like, even there's a checkpoint up ahead, and I was like, I'm sober, and I'm like, even driving up, I think I might have even like weaved a little bit, like, come on, like, have me get out of the car. I haven't been drinking. This is gonna be awesome. And of course, I get waved through and all of that. But all of that is that whole album is a lot of stuff like that. And then the other thing is that I was going through this period of like, I was writing songs or whatever. Jason Isbell's songs are so good.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you just need to hear something and remind you, oh yeah, you can do something that good. And it's mostly lyrically. I think, even though, I graduated Berkeley as a bass player and all of that, when you get into bands and everything like that, no one wanted to write lyrics. There was always, it was like hot potato, like, we want to do songs, but, no one wants to write. And I wrote a few, and, people said, you're kind of good at that, and so it just, you keep doing stuff that you're kind of good at, and then you want to be better at it.
Yeah.
And I just always enjoyed writing. And I had a girlfriend who was a TV producer, writer-producer, and, just my emails, this is before I had a job writing advertising. She said, you could be a writer if you wanted. I was like, nah, I couldn't do that. And she said, well, I don't tell anyone that they should be a writer. I tell people they shouldn't be a writer. But, and I said, like, no, I don't know punctuation and grammar and like all of that. And she said, you can learn all of that. Your emails, you have a cadence and you have a flow to telling a story. You can't teach that. And you have that. You can learn all the rest. And And I was like, huh, okay, that could maybe be a thing. And she said, didn't teachers in high school tell you were a good writer? And I said, well, yeah, but I thought that's what they're supposed to tell kids or something like that. She's like, they don't tell kids that, you know. And all of my friends that are teachers now, I tell them that story, and they're like, no, we don't. We do not. Don't tell people they should be a writer if they're not good. No. But no one could have said anything to me at that time, because I wouldn't have thought being a writer was a real career. You know, being a rock star, that's a real career. That's obtainable.
Thanks, Prince.
You know, so so that album, he raised the bar for me. I'm like, I have to put more work into the lyrics. That I don't want any dead weight in there. I don't want any line that where there's a word that's just filling space for the rhythm or the rhyme or whatever. It's everything has to stand up on its own. And then, so that was that album. And just as an aside, his last album was his first album after he got divorced.
Yes. It's like all acoustic too.
Yeah. And voice and acoustic, man, that is tough to pull off for more than a couple of songs. The greats have trouble with that, but
he's become a hell of a guitarist in the last few years, and it's like it's the kind of I feel like he's undervalued as a guitarist, because you know we love his lyrics so much, and he's so good at you know, writing songs that you can easily forget. But that album kind of turned for me. This latest album, I was just like, because I felt the same way. I'm like, okay. I mean, I would listen to him all day, no matter what. I was just so impressed with how the guitar sounded. Like it's like, oh yeah, you don't need a band anymore. Like you can continue doing this, like your songs. And it was like I like the Reunions album, but I like this one better, just because it was. I feel like he's been putting a lot of emphasis on was it 400 unit?
Yeah.
So it's like to try to make it feel like a cool band. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's maybe had like some sort of syndrome where he felt like people look at me as like just like a songwriter guy and not like being in a band. That's why he like puts all those events in Nashville where he does like the sort of like cover nights and you know, and it seems like somebody who just wants to do everything and not just be pigeonholed in one thing. But going back to the song, like I want to make sure that people, you know, when they listen to it, that like the line that the song title is
it gets easier.
It gets easier, but never easy.
Yeah.
And that's like that's the Isbell.
Yeah.
You know,
craziest thing is that I used to smoke cigarettes and I quit, and those nightmares were horrible. I always had nightmares that I started smoking again, and it was so hard to quit. And honestly,
it's a bigger muscle thing, like you know, the cigarette.
It is, and it's crazy that probably my worst fear about when I decided to quit drinking was, one, I thought I would be bored all the time. Like, what am I going to do with all this time? And then you just have such a great life. You don't have enough hours in the day to do all of the things that you want to do. It's great. Never been bored since I quit drinking. But I was like, I thought it was going to be as hard as when I quit smoking. And thankfully, it was not.
Good.
There's nothing harder than quitting cigarettes. I heard interviews, people were getting off heroin and tried to quit cigarettes at the same time, and they said cigarettes was harder.
I'm sure. Write a song about that. All right. So song number 7. We're in side B here.
Side B. A Boy Named Sue. Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. I'm Johnny Cash.
So, first about Johnny Cash, live at Folsom Prison. I grew up with my grandparents for the first 8 years of my life, who it was not a musical family. Actually, makes it sound like when I moved in with my mom, that was a musical family. That was not either. There was no music in growing up or whatever. And we kind of forget that Civilians have like 5 albums or something like that, with the big console, wood grain speakers in there and all of that. So I was playing like hard rock and, all kinds of stuff. And it wasn't until I was at Bill's Bar in Boston.
Bill's Bar?
The jukebox, programmed by Jay Giles, had a ton of Johnny Cash, and I realized I knew all the words to all of these Johnny Cash songs. I must have heard them growing up a million times, and they were like, that was like in my bones or something. It was this memory that I didn't even know I had, but it was like ingrained in me. And he's like, I don't know if Johnny Cash does anything well. Like, he's not a great singer, but he sounds like him.
Yeah.
He's not a great guitar player, but he plays as well as he needs to. He was such an iconic figure, and obviously he was huge, but I was like, I think he was just like a little before Elvis, and he was a little too early for something, a little too late for something else. A little too late to be Hank Williams, a little too early to be Elvis, of course had his own huge career. So Boy Named Sue, I could have picked any song, but this one is again going back to my childhood, which is pre-internet, pre-everything, and growing up in Minnesota again. I thought this song was A Boy Named Sue, Souix, because obviously my uncle's from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Sioux comes up in the Midwest in that area all the time.
Yeah, and actually Johnny Cash was also fascinated with the American Indian culture,
and so I heard that song maybe a million times, thinking, I think Sue is kind of a cool name. Like, why would you change Souix? That's an awesome name. And it wasn't until later, but probably when I learned how to read or whatever and saw a track listing, I was like, oh, S-U-E. Oh, I get it now.
No wonder he's pissed.
And then, I just appreciate how big the song got when the premise is a little ridiculous, that everyone since the dawn of history can just use their middle name or say, I don't like that name, don't call, I'm going to be this. So anyway,
I love that song. I think it's I remember hearing about how it was recorded. I've been such a Johnny Cash fan all my life, but it's always been peripherally, until the American recordings with Rick Rubin. When that stuff, the first few albums, those albums came out, that made me go back to discover his earlier stuff, and especially the we'll call them the prison albums. And San Quentin one. But this song wasn't even supposed to be on the album. It was given to him days before as something to consider to record for another thing, and he thought it was kind of fun. And the band, I think Carl Perkins was with him for this recording. Okay. They're just like playing along, and watch the video of it. He's actually still looking at the piece of paper where the lyrics are.
I saw that one,
and the sort of the response he got was so immediate that he was just like, "There's something here," and he kept it. And it's just kind of crazy how he was always good about that. Like you said, he's wasn't the best singer, wasn't the best guitarist, but he was who he was, you know. And people think of like outlaw country, and you know, he's not in the same sort of like wavelength of Waylon and anybody else on that side of that spectrum. But for some reason, you know, when you're an outsider, when you have the sort of outsider mind, and I can only imagine being from Minnesota, how that's kind of ingrained, because you're not, you know, you're not from the South, you're not New York, you're not LA, you're like Minnesota, and it's just like a weird, like he was the perfect outsider, the man in black, but also he always stood strong, like he never like he was strong in his beliefs, and that's what kind of I feel like made his sort of icon status just like be so just strong, man. I mean, we're still talking about it today. It's just like I don't know, he didn't have as many hits of all the people that we were talking about. A lot of the songs that he did were, you know, covers that people wrote for him or whatever, and it's just crazy to think but you know, it's just, again, he sold that song, you know, he sold it, and he was in on the joke. That's what you hear in the song, that he's in on the joke. But let's move on. Song number 8 on My Greatest Hits for Troy Richardson.
You're So Vain, Carly Simon.
This is a good choice, an interesting one too. Why this song?
This is one of the songs that always struck me that you can enjoy a story that you have no idea really what's going on. It is like, I forget, there's a dance that she mentions, and all of these things, which especially like Minnesota, like, you know, flying in a jet or a yacht or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, Nova Scotia.
Yeah. None of this stuff was my world, would ever be my world. But it's her singing as the narrator.
To kill the eclipse. Yeah, just to catch the eclipse in Nova Scotia or something.
Yeah. All of these crazy things. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew she knew what was going on. And that resonated with me so much, and it was very powerful to, sometimes as songwriters, we like take a step back and like, oh, this has to be for everyone, and this is, you know, it's the opposite. However specific you can get, even though, you know, Prince talks about Uptown, and I read this review of like Uptown's being this state of mind, it's this, it's that,
Utopia,
whatever, and all of that, and I'm like, Uptown is Lake Street in Hennepin. It's a part of Minneapolis.
It's where we all went.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes it snows in April. That's not figurative. That's literal. Sometimes it does snow in April. And somehow this song was just, you could see it, you could feel it, you could be a part of it and not know what you were really a part of, but you knew something was going on there. And then it's another song where, like, you can't remove a word. It would fall apart. Every word has some weight to it, and every word needs to be there. And just as an aside, I'll mention how much growing up I hated Woody Allen movies. That this song is the opposite. Especially early Woody Allen movies, if you weren't from New York, these movies exuded this thing telling a kid in the Midwest that he wasn't cool.
Yeah.
That I missed half the jokes. I missed everything. It felt like you were just an outsider of this world. That, you know, New York City, I didn't when did I see New York? I might have been 20 before I saw New York City. And, you know, my mom never saw New York City or LA or anything like that. So as much as like Woody Allen movies were excluding me, there's something about Carly Simon's song that welcomed me into this world.
Yeah.
And there's something about it, there's like, perhaps in the second person as she's singing to this person who does not know that they are the subject of this song. That person is someplace else. They'll never know what this person is thinking. That perhaps you're in that world because you also don't know exactly what's going on. So you can feel like the subject of the song, that that person involved in all of this is also missing the point.
No, I agree with you 100%. There's something about, there's so much, the fact that the person who's so vain has remained a mystery to this day, who that person really is, even though she's admitted to like some people.
I read it's about 3 different men.
Yes.
Which would make sense to me because however many breakup songs that I have, there are pieces of different breakups that make them, and
you're pulling from all the experiences, and to know that, and I mean, I love that. For me, it was always a thing where I related to, like you said, the part where it's like there's this other person that probably doesn't even know this about them, but she's saying this, and like the thing that I connected to the most was this idea that someone's such a narcissist. And you know, she's singing the song, she's writing the song, and she's denying, do you think this song is about you? You know what I mean? And she's saying, oh, I love the clouds in my coffee. And it's like that line is always just like stuck with me, you know, this clouds, because it's like in your day to day, this person is fucking raining on your parade just because being who they are. And you just like, you're such, you know, it's like you're so vain is really you're such a dick.
Yeah.
You're such a bitch. You're such a this. And it's like, you think that everything, you know, you think the song is about you. You think the world revolves around you.
Yeah.
And it's like such a, you know, sentiment that I don't think has ever been said better since then either. Like about that specific thing, about calling somebody out like that.
Yeah. And then the crazy thing, when the song is about this person who will never get who they are, you also feel like, I think we've all been there at some point, like, how dare that person not realize what they did to me? This is affecting me every single day, like, and they don't care. How can they not care? And you have to get older, that's like, they're never gonna care.
No.
It's my problem. I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't, you know? They're who they are. You got to worry about who you are. You know.
I'll say one last thing about this song that I love too, is that I love how in the choruses, each one by one, you hear a little more of Mick Jagger. That by the time the end of the song, he's like full on in there. But like you hear a faint of him in the first chorus, and you hear him there stronger in the second chorus, and in the end, he's all in your face. And it didn't help the rumors, that's for sure. Everyone thought it was him. So, all right, song number 9, The Flame, Cheap Trick. This is interesting to me. So, why this song? I mean, Cheap Trick, another kind of, they're not from Minnesota. They're from Chicago, right?
Yeah.
But you can claim them as Midwest,
close
right?
enough. Yeah.
Why this song, man?
This song, every time I hear it, it sounds like Triumph to me.
The band Triumph?
Victory.
Okay.
Cheap Trick was like, one of my youngest memories is like, I Want You to Want Me on the radio, whatever. And it's like, that was a band. I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so a lot of music I got, like, you know, my Cars album was, you know, my faux step brother recommended it or whatever. The kids my age had older siblings that liked, Kiss or AC/DC or whatever before, it was widespread. So Cheap Trick was one of those bands, and they were great. And they're another one that was like, they were like a real band. It was like what you would get your friends together and you would form your Cheap Trick, as opposed to
they were like superheroes because they all had like personalities.
Yeah,
like the Rick and the Buddy.
And so they were just, and that song was like everywhere. And then there were those 3 albums right in a row that were so brilliant. And then Cheap Trick fell off the map. It's I don't know, could be, they lost their bass player, so don't fire the bass player. Fall apart. All falls apart. And there's just album after album. There's like, there was nothing deader than Cheap Trick right before The Flame came out.
Yeah, it's strange.
And I don't know if they switched labels or whatever, and I know someone else wrote The Flame.
Yeah, they were always on Columbia.
Yeah.
Even for that album, so.
But maybe someone at the label liked them and decided to put some more money in it, or, whatever it was.
It was specifically, they were like, okay, guys, really sorry. We're going to have to bring outside writers. You have to record at least 2 or 3 songs from outside writers. This is it. And it was just like 2 or 3 albums in a row that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. And I remember, I probably saw the video first for the song before I even heard it on the radio or whatever, but I remember it opens and they're just like, they're coming back. And it's like, I think they're walking in slow motion or something like that. And then I think that came out as I was kind of like midway through the songwriting program at Berkeley. And I remember thinking, at first listen, this song is a mess. It's like the highest note comes in the verse, like the highest note's supposed to be in the chorus, and
over you.
Yes. and then the title was like further on in the song, and I was like, that's not where the hook is supposed to be. And then I, in repeated listenings, it's like, no, this song has like 3 awesome hooks. And it's just a song that I always feels like someone saying, we're back. We always mattered. You forgot about us. And then here we are. So it's just, and then it's just, the song lyrically ties into that too, of the narrator always being there, and then also this is that tour. I got to see them on New Year's Eve at the Limelight in New York City.
Wow.
And
great club.
That's possibly my favorite live show of all time. I'd never seen them before.
And for those who don't know, the Limelight was a club that was inside of a church in New York City, mainly known for a lot of dance and new wave electronic shows back in the day, but they'd have big bands play occasionally.
Yeah, and
it wasn't that big of a room, too.
It wasn't that big, and that just made it even better. Like, you can see, I mean, if I would have seen Cheap Trick earlier, I would have seen them in an arena. I would have seen, them at the Met Center in Minneapolis when there wasn't a hockey game. That would have been there. But I was, 5 or 6 people back. There's not really a bad place in the Limelight. There's the floor, and then there's, I seem to remember, like a couple levels or something that you could all, and it just went around, and it was like
they had the balconies too.
Around and it's like, it's smaller than like the Wiltern or whatever. It's maybe even smaller than like the Ace Hotel. But anyway, Ace, another saw Wilco there, and that was just like, it was like listening to an album at your home. It sounds so
Nice.
great there. But yeah, that was just, they were back, and original bass player back, of course, because
Don't fire your bass
fire
player.
your bass player.
I got the mojo back. Just to dive a little deeper into this one, because I think it's of all the songs, it's the one that surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect. I'm a huge Cheap Trick fan. You mentioned the lyrical content. You mentioned the song arrangement. How whatever you feel like the high point was in the verse or whatever. Are there any, as a songwriter, and this applies to all songs, do you find like when you hear a song like this and it doesn't do the thing that you expect it to do, what do you walk away from besides the obvious of like, oh, I should try something different? Do you like have anything specific that you pulled out of this song in your mind, like that stayed with you as far as the songwriter, outside of the emotion, outside of the sort of like the happiness of seeing Cheap Trick come back?
Yeah.
Like I want to, like, like for example, for me, that song just proved to me, okay, no, Robin Zander is just we kind of underestimated him. Like, he's a way better singer than, and he's always sung that way. And, and it just made me go back to like listen to some of the ballads. Like each album had like a ballad or two or whatever. Yeah. And you hear that searing voice, that voice that's kind of like angelic almost. But I don't know. Just I'm wondering, because it's such a particular song again. That the story. I'm sorry to go on a different tangent. They presented several songs to them, and the first song they presented to them was a song called "Look Away." That they said, if you guys don't want it, we're going to give it to Chicago, and Chicago recorded it. And Bunny Carlos said that when he heard it, he was just like, let's hear the next one. And they played him The Flame, and Rick took the cassette, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it. And the producer was convinced that was the song for them. Yeah. And he went to them individually. Yeah. And he started with Robin. He said, like, he recorded like a little drum track and some keys. You sing the song, and he got everyone to do it eventually. And Rick Nielsen since has denied like saying that he didn't like the song. It was just that they kept pushing songs on them because they were like, you got to record somebody else's songs because your songs aren't working. But at that point, he says, I remember he said that I wish you guys would have come with this song first, because that was like the last song that came. But sorry to return to your question. The question to you, like about this song in particular, is there anything that you can trace to the song that you feel like as a songwriter is something that you would kind of nip?
I think that the structure and how it builds and everything like that, like, and where the hooks where they were unexpected, it just reinforced that songs, you don't start by bringing out the toolkit. You bring out the toolkit after you have something there to work on. There's a lot of people in, especially in rock and punk or whatever, that'll be dead set against learning theory or learning about music or anything like that. Like, man, there's so many people that say, oh, I'll suffer for my art, but do you want to take a songwriting class? Oh my God, no, I won't do that. Like, oh God, no, I want to figure it out on my own.
Forbid.
I'm like, okay, and then they think of everything, I think, backwards, which is music theory. They did not set down a bunch of rules and say, here's the way it goes, now make music. People made music, and then there were people that said, oh, a lot of people keep doing this thing. Let's put a name on that. It's going to be called this thing. It's going to be called a dominant chord, and it's going to want to go to the tonic, and, whatever. They're not rules that you have to live by. It is a map of those who went before us. Yeah. And they say, this is all of everything that has been done and how it works. And you don't have to follow a map. You can just go driving, but it's there if you want it. And while The Flame is definitely a pop song, it is not start to finish a pop song. It has different elements going on. There's something interesting in every part of that song, and it is the high note in the verse. It's the drums come in later, and the title, The Flame, is at the end of the chorus, and so all of those things. I don't know how many songwriters are on it.
Two guys.
Two guys.
Yeah.
Before the era of 20 people.
Yeah.
Writing songs. But so I can just see two guys throwing that back and forth, like, especially like, I bet it started like, I think we're really onto something, and it's okay, I think we're onto something too. Let's make sure this is perfect. Let's keep doing this, like, and then maybe it's something like, that doesn't make sense, but I like it. Do you like it? Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And yeah, it was just a great song for that moment in time, and for Cheap Trick, a band that I think deserved to come back, and
I think I truly believe that they're still riding on the comeback fire from that song. No pun intended. Like that turn that happened for them, because then they became a legacy act with that album.
Yeah. And that was great. That was, and then the other thing is, like, outside writers, people always like, say, oh, they killed this band or whatever, but outside writers don't kill bands. There's like, the Aerosmith train was not going along the tracks just fine, and then Diane Warren killed it.
No.
That train was off the tracks, and they brought Diane Warren in to fix it.
Especially Cheap Trick, because a lot of they did do a lot of covers.
Yeah.
From Cheap Trick, we go to song number 10, the last song on Troy Richardson's My Greatest Hits. Troy, let's take it home.
Song 10, Something in the Way, Nirvana.
Great choice.
Last song on Nevermind, which the song only has 2 chords in it through the whole way, which is, it's another thing, just like Unsatisfied. It's like, I don't know how that works. How am I never bored with 2 chords through the whole thing? But the texture of it, and his voice and everything, would it be an opening track? No, probably not. But it's brilliant as the last track on that album, because you'll listen to that album and it changed everything. That was, it was beyond groundbreaking. And there's, as a songwriter, that just moved the goalpost of everything. It's kind of what the Replacements or Soul Asylum would have started, and it is that varied structure, kind of no rules, but Nevermind is very cohesive, that I would say no Soul Asylum or Replacements Husker Du album would really be. Like, I think Paul Westerberg's solo albums would eventually get to be cohesive. Sugar or Bob Mould solo, they made more sense. Those were younger songwriters all over the place. Nirvana, that album, whether I think they wound up hating their producer for making it sound like that, but it all made sense in that that is the last song on there. It's like you listen to all of that, and this is the lullaby that's going to put you to sleep at the end. It's just it's the bookend. It's like, we did this thing, and then here this is. Slow, 2 chords, and don't know why it works. It's just, it works. It's brilliant, and I think it could be the phrasing and the rhythm of the vocal line, because really there's not much else going on to change in that.
Well, I mean, they started it as something else. They had gone into the studio played it full band, and it just didn't work. And when Butch Vig tried to get out of Kurt Cobain, like, what is it that you're trying to get with this? They were sitting in the control booth, and he was playing the acoustic guitar, singing it. And Butch Vig was just like, hold up a second, let me turn off the air conditioning and put a mic on him. And that's what happened. And they recorded that, and then they built around that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you said earlier too that's like very poignant about the toolbox. Like, I want to ask you to expand on that, because the toolbox comes after.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about what is it that comes first, because like a song like this is a perfect example. Is that, you know, I always say that I don't put importance on the words or the music. I put importance on the feel.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever it feels like, that's what Unsatisfied. It's just feel. It's just like, I don't know why this feels like an anthem of, you know, angsty youth, of, you know, and there's nothing to it.
Yeah.
Right? Same with this. This is, like you said it perfectly, this is like a teenage lullaby. Yeah. Like, this is, you know, this soothed the turbulent hearts of many a teenager in 1990. And what's to it? You know, there's like, and the weird thing is that Something in the Way always, when I remember seeing the title and thinking, wait, isn't that like that Frank Sinatra or whatever? What's that, like an old something?
Yeah, it's like the 70s.
Oh no, no. Remind me, of the Beatles. You know, Something in the Way. But then it was just like, no, this is its own thing. So let's close off with this idea of as a songwriter, like, you know, and using this song as an example of the toolbox. You know, there's people are afraid of learning. People are afraid of like any sort of gaining any sort of knowledge in the thing that would help them, mainly because of that fear, because they feel like if they have too much of the toolbox, they'll forget, they'll lose this, whatever this is, right? Whatever their own personal expression is. When in reality, it's like you want as many of the tools as possible. Yeah. Right? But let's talk about that initial part, if you can.
Yeah, the toolbox is what you go and you get when you're stuck, and you do not want to use every single tool in the toolbox every time. That's another thing.
Unless you're doing, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Exactly. Yeah. But, you know, still, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, if one of your tools is, let's go cut time to full time or whatever, that's not in there. You know?
Song efficiency. Song economy. Definitely not that.
So you can step back. My songwriting teacher, Pat Pattison, who wrote a bunch of lyric writing books, is great about getting the heart of things, which is any song. Who is speaking? Who are they speaking to? And what are they saying? Can you condense that song down to that? Who's speaking? You know, the narrator, me, the singer, or I'm, you know, speaking to someone. Who am I speaking to? Does it feel like a real person that I'm speaking to? Am I a crazy person yelling at the clouds? that can be justified. You know who that is, you know who they're speaking to, and what is it about, you know. Merle Haggard, in an interview, I still remember, like, they like, how do you keep writing songs? And it's like, well, you just look at it differently. It's like, you can write a song about a flower, you can write a song about the person who picked the flower. And that always landed with me. I was like, I could write a song about there used to be a flower that someone picked. I mean, and you can go, that flower growing, that why did that person pick it? You know, why is it gone? All of that. There's a million angles to look at.
Perspective. Yeah.
And the toolkit is it's just one of those things where it's usually when, like, I think, like we talked about, like the flame, there's like, it probably was there. There's like, we're on to something. Let's not stop short of the goalpost or whatever it is. We owe this song the work to make it great. You know, there's one thing. I was playing bass in a band for a songwriter. This is years ago, and this person had written a song, and it had a good vibe to it, and all of this. And then I was like, you know, the verse is in E and the chorus is in E, and it's, this whole song is one giant E chord. We should move away from that, if just for a little while, to get back to it. And, you know, it's just, it can't sustain itself. And I believe I was right, and I was also fired after that. Which, and then, did that person get anywhere? No. Don't fire the bass player.
the one takeaway from this whole podcast.
But it's that's the songs that can sustain themselves with the same thing going on, and it's James Brown can do it. It's very limited.
Yeah, it's feel. I mean, it's conviction. It's also like conviction of what you're doing. You can't. That only survives if you're on fire. If whatever you're doing is like the only thing you can do at that moment, and that's it. And then if somebody happens to record it, otherwise you're treading on things that have been done before. So it's like everything's been done. So what do? Well, you are you, and you have your own story, you have your own outlook, and the way you see things, and experiences, and also the way you express, right? So that makes it unique. Your fire makes it unique. The tools are there because everyone can use them, right? It's funny, all the while I'm still singing that song, "Fucking the Flame." I don't know why I'm still. It's like, I was thinking right now. I'm just like, oh, it's crazy, because they could have ended that song without going to that last part of that chorus. They could have just been like, "Wherever you are, I'll be with you. Wherever you are, I'll be with you." And then that could have been the chorus. And then just add that third part on top of like, "You need someone." The flame part. After the fire, after all the flame. I'm gonna study that song now. Actually, I'm gonna steal that song. I'm gonna copy it and change the chords. Shh, don't tell anybody. Gosh, Troy, thank you so much for being a part of this, man.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
If there is one last thing you can say about the like the mixtape itself, let's say it's the Troy Richardson mixtape. If there's one theme, if there's one message you'd like to give, or if there's anything you'd like to say to anybody who's a songwriter listening.
Well, it's 10 songs that are like, I think they're pretty timeless. Recording, production aside, they're all things that I think they're going to touch people for generations, that's why we have songs. That's why people still listen to Beatles songs. They're going to sell albums every year until there's no such thing as an album, until we are hardwired to have music sent right to our brains, and then they're going to hit the charts again because everyone's going to get that download. But that's kind of the magic of when I was like junior high or something like that, is when I first realized like 4 of us can play, and if we have a different guitar player, a different drummer, whatever, there's this thing and it just changed. Even if they're playing the same part, there's a certain magic of humans interacting and playing things together, except for Prince, who can play everything himself and he has his own kind of magic, but other than that, there's something universal and that ties everyone together, and that's
there you go. Tying everyone together. My Greatest Hits, y'all.